You have no doubt seen that there are a lot of videos talking about V02 Max and its effect on longevity. And I'm going to discuss that in this video today. Firstly, what the heck is V02 Max? V02 Max traditionally was a way to measure the effectiveness of your body to utilize oxygen. A high VO2 max, let's say in the 80s, means that this person's body, their lungs, has the ability to breathe in air, which is about 20% oxygen, and utilize a high percentage of that oxygen. A person with a low VO2 max, let's talk about a person with COPD, may have the same size lung as that athlete, but their body does not utilize as much oxygen. Let's say their VO2 max is in the 20s. They are literally unable to take a breath in and get oxygen to the tissues of their body. Now, of course, this has significant implications because a person with a high VO2 max, thus, by definition, can oxygenate all the tissues of their body with much more efficiency. So if both of those people are 84 years old, then if they catch a cold, if they catch the flu, if they catch some other disease, or they get pneumonia, the chances are that the person with the high VO2 max is more likely to live through and survive that disease. All right, so you're sold. How do you find out what your VO2 max is? Well, in the old days, it used to be you had to go to an athletic lab, and it was a very torturous test. They'd put you on a treadmill, and they'd hook you up to a breathing mask and measure the amount of oxygen that you're using, and essentially torture you and make you run as hard as you humanly can or ride a bicycle or whatever to the point where you almost want to see Jesus or you puke. And then they're able to determine the maximum oxygen uptake that you can deal with. The good news, you don't have to do that anymore. Many people have Garmin watches and things that give an estimate as to what your VO2 max is. So you probably have one of these watches that does this. Now, they're not perfect because there's an algorithm with which they figure out approximately what your VO2 max is. But I can tell you that if it says your VO2 max is 60, then it may be, if you did it in a lab, 62, or it may be 57 or something like that. But it's going to ballpark it. And what you're looking for with these watches is a trend in that you want to get it better. So you're probably wondering what watch I'm selling right now, and it sounds like a advertisement, but no, check out this watch. This watch tells me nothing. This watch tells me the time and the date at the bottom. So I personally don't use one. I'm not selling you one, but if you want to get an Apple Watch or a Garmin watch or something like that to find these things out, knock yourself out. I'll put some on Amazon in the description if you want to look at them, things that have good reviews. But the ballpark is what you're looking for. So how does one improve your VO2 max? There's a number of ways to do it. The first way, which is not the most efficient, I'll get to the most efficient in just a moment, but the easy way is to do what's called Zone 2 exercises, and you've probably heard of that as well. But that's to go out for long periods of time at a consistent basis where your heart rate just stays the same at a certain zone. When you do this type of exercise, you could be walking, swimming, cycling, you could be rowing, you could be on an elliptical, it doesn't matter. Just do something that sounds like a lot of fun to you and go ahead and do it. But you want to get your heart rate up to a level where you're breathing heavy, but you can still maintain a conversation if someone was right next to you. So you may be able to have a conversation, but the sentences might be a little short because you're breathing heavy, but you're not totally exhausted and throwing up in the bushes. Another method to improve VO2 max would be what's called the Norwegian Method, and this is where you do interval training. It's a style of interval training. And how this works is, again, you need some type of rowing machine, a cycling, you could do running, you could do hiking, you could do an elliptical, you could do it on the treadmill, anything. But here's how it works. First, you warm up for 10 minutes going at a Zone 2 pace. Then what you'll do is you'll hit it really hard for 4 minutes. And how this should feel is for the first minute, you should know that you're going faster, but you're feeling as though you can possibly maintain it. For the second minute and the third minute, you're starting to get really tired. The fourth minute is absolute chaos. You think you're gonna die. Then after that 4 minutes, you slow down and get back into that zone 2 pace. You keep that zone 2 pace long enough so that you can catch your breath. For most people, that's 3 minutes. So you just did a 4-minute interval with a 3-minute rest. Then you repeat that again, 4 minutes, as hard as you possibly can for that duration, 3 minutes rest, and you repeat this such that you do 16 minutes of total work. So right here, this is a more efficient way to develop your V02 Max. Another way to do intervals would be to do 20-10s, and how this works is you will warm up for about 10 minutes, get mentally prepared because you're about to experience the worst cardiovascular experience ever. And once you're warmed up, you will go as hard as humanly possible for 20 seconds. Then you will let up for 10 seconds. Then you will go hard for 20 seconds. Then you will let up for 10 seconds. Now the first 20 seconds and the second 20 seconds feels okay. You think to yourself, okay, this isn't too bad. It's difficult, but it's not super taxing. And that's what you're thinking at that point. And the world is about to come crashing down on you because you're going to do it for 5 minutes. And it is the most difficult type of exercise that I have ever done personally. I can't do more than 2 sets of 5 minutes, and you just want to die. By the last, minute 3 to 4 and the fifth minute is so brutally hard that you almost think you might have to call 911 and pass out. It's an insane way of working out. Now, most of these things that you're going to see where we're doing the Norwegian Method or the Tabata exercise, which is what I just mentioned, that's the name of it. These are very efficient ways to develop high VO2 max and are mainly reserved for high-level athletes. So the average patient that I see is a senior citizen. They haven't exercised much in their life. These are very bad decisions to make unless you are a good athlete. So to start developing a high VO2 max, you need to start where a patient is at that moment. So what you do, the best advice would be to start an exercise program where you do the zone 2 training and you increase the amount of time that you're going to do it up to an hour. So if you can walk an hour at zone 2 pace, you're in pretty good shape. Thus, you can start experimenting with the intervals. But in summary, VO2 max is one of the best predictors of how long you're going to live, your longevity, and how well you can survive cardiovascular events and respiratory events. So if you're not doing any of this type of training, begin easy. Always check with your doctor to ask your doctor if walking is right for you. But when it comes to the intervals, you may want to ask someone who knows how to tell if you're going to have some trouble. I wouldn't take those very lightly, but give it a try because that is the secret by how you develop VO2 max.